I, 26F, am currently engaged to my fiancé, 28M, and we're supposed to get married in 2 months. We've been saving up for our wedding and honeymoon for the past year, putting aside a significant portion of our income to make our special day perfect. We had about 10K saved in the account. This weekend, my fiancé had his bachelor party, and I was totally okay with him having a good time. I even helped plan it and made sure everything was organized so he could enjoy himself with his friends. Fast forward to this morning, and I wake up to find that our joint savings account has been completely drained. He spent all our savings on his bachelor party. When I confronted him, he said he got carried away and didn't realize how much he was spending. He admitted that he paid for his friends' expenses too, thinking it would be a great last hurrah before we tied the knot. I was furious, but tried to keep my cool. I told him that he needed to figure out how to replenish the savings because we still had wedding expenses to cover, and blew up about how could he spend 10K over 2 days? This weekend is my bachelorette party, which has been planned for months. My 4 best friends have already paid for their share, and I've budgeted carefully so that it wouldn't affect our savings. We're going to a Michelin star restaurant in our city, renting an Airbnb, going for brunch in the morning at one of my favorite restaurants the next day. And I rented out an arcade in our city with unlimited tokens and bought a ton of junk food and candy for all of us to share. Altogether, it was less than $400 a person, including the price of the restaurant, Airbnb, arcade rental, brunch, and Ubers, with myself spending 1.5K of my personal savings. But now, my fiancé is demanding that I cancel my weekend to show solidarity and help us save money. He says it's only fair since he made a mistake, and we need to cut back on expenses to recover from his spending spree. I refused to cancel my bachelorette party because 1, I didn't blow our savings, he did, and 2, my friends have already paid for their share, and I don't want to let them down. He's now calling me selfish and saying I'm not being supportive of our future together. He's even gotten some of his friends and family involved, who are siding with him and saying that I should be more understanding and cancel my bachelorette weekend. I get that we're in a tough spot financially now, but I don't think it's fair that I should have to cancel my plans because of his irresponsible behavior. I suggested that he could maybe sell some of the stuff he bought during the party or pick up extra work to make up for it, and that it is not my problem he blew all the money, but he says I'm being unreasonable.
Comment 1. NTA, but how many red flags do you need before you leave him? See if you can figure out how much of the money in that savings you contributed, and then give him a date he has to pay you back for it and leave this relationship. You spending 1.5K of your personal savings is nothing compared to him spending 10K on one night for him, and his buddies are not financially compatible, and you'll be so much better off without him. Comment 2. You have it already saved, and it's only $400 each? Turn it into an I dodged a bullet party and toss the bum to the side. He blew 10 grand and didn't think a thing of it, but expects you to cancel a $400 party you have the money for. What is this solidarity of which he speaks? What other little flaws have you been overlooking? This is not the man of your dreams and the answer to all your problems. This is a ticking time bomb you need to run away from. Comment 3. NTA, oh honey, your fiancé is off the charts selfish and immature. I don't want to say you shouldn't marry him, but this is a taste of what your married life would be like. He messed up big time and his solution is to punish you for it, then call in reinforcements when you stand up for yourself. I've lived with my husband for 42 years, and trust me when I say that there are pitfalls in every marriage and every life. If this is how he behaves at the time in your lives when love is in full bloom, imagine how he'll be during one of those pitfalls. Good luck.
My 26M brother, 28M, is getting married this fall. He has always been my parents' favorite without a doubt, while I got the short end of the stick. Not pouting but just stating the obvious. My parents are using the last of their retirement savings to pay for this wedding before they sell the house and downsize to a much smaller place. My brother wants a lot for his wedding, roughly estimated it's costing him about $80,000. My brother is a lawyer practicing as a public defender, making about $75,000 a year. And has about $7,000 total saved up, not a typo, 7,000 of 80,000. I know how to save money and have close to $150,000 saved up. My family is all chipping in as much as they can, and it's all adding up to about $24,000. The bride's side of the family said they're chipping in half the total cost for the wedding, so $40,000. They have $64,000 combined and are trying to find $16,000 when they turn to me. I told them straight up I'm not giving them money, but I can loan it to them. No interest, just pay me back $16,000 at the end of 3 years. I tried to give them multiple opportunities to take it and let them know I would not just give them money. My brother is considering uninviting me from the wedding, and my parents have been blowing up my phone with messages and calls. After a few weeks of stewing in it and realizing he wasn't going to be able to find the money elsewhere, and with his credit history a personal loan without a 10 to 12% interest rate is impossible, he came back to me and asked for the loan. We hugged it out and talked about it, and about 3 hours later I printed up a little contract that says I would either be paid back in full at the end of 3 years from this date, or that I could take monthly or yearly installments, however he wants it to be paid. When I busted out the contract, he got upset, saying I don't have faith in him. I don't. He's defaulted on 2 car loans and his credit score is around the 470s last time he checked. He has $300,000 worth of student loan debt from undergrad and law school, and I know he's not smart with his money, so I wanted it in writing. That apparently was the final straw. I am officially uninvited and have been asked not to contact him or my parents ever again. The truth is, I'll say I'm sorry and admit when I'm wrong, but am I wrong asking for a contract for $16,000? That's a lot of money. In not saying I'm going to sue him the day after the loan window expires for the amount, but I want some sort of receipt saying that he owes me back for this. So, comment 1, I don't understand this siblings being expected to pay for weddings. When did this happen? Also, don't give or loan him any money, even with a contract. You just have to sue him eventually to get it back, and it will just cause even more drama and strife when the time comes. Save yourselves the headaches and just say no now. Comment 2. NTA, people who can't afford a fancy wedding shouldn't have a fancy wedding. I will never understand why people want to spend so much money on one day when they could use that money to buy a house. Some of the best weddings I've been to are the simple, heartfelt weddings. You don't owe your brother that money. I guess you could give some of the money to them as a gift and the rest as a loan, but it sounds like you are smart to draw up a contract for it. Otherwise, you will never see the money again. Comment 3. I'm baffled that people are just handing this couple such large amounts of money for a wedding they can't afford. I know every couple has their dreams for their wedding day, but if you have $80,000 taste and $7,000 saved, it's time to rethink things. I'd be ashamed to take my parents' retirement money for something like this. Your NTA, in my opinion. He's being ridiculous and lost his chance by balking at the contract. As a lawyer, he should know better. It's pretty common knowledge that people who intend to pay a debt won't have an issue with an agreement to do just that. He proved you right. I'm sorry your family is putting money over you, but maybe you're better off in the long run. I, 45F, am in a difficult situation with my nephew, 25M, and my family, and I need some perspective as I simply feel terrible about this whole situation. Last year, my nephew lost his job and couldn't afford to stay with his friends anymore. Having helped raise him and having such a deep connection, I decided to help him out. I had recently bought a house over the summer to rent out, so I let him stay there until he could get back on his feet. I also gave him $3,000 to help with living expenses and such. A few months later, he landed a job at a major tech firm, and during Thanksgiving, he bragged that his starting salary was almost as much as I've been making after 10 years in my current job. I was naturally very enthused for him and extremely proud. I decided after the holidays it was time for him to move on and get a place and start paying rent. As spring rolled around, I urged him to find another place to live or start paying me. I also told him we could forget the $3,000 and just move on. He refused, getting really upset and saying it was convenient for him to stay since it was close to his new job and that he was not in a financial situation to be paying rent right now. Which confused me, as I previously stated he was bragging about his salary. I then offered to let him rent the property for a little more than the mortgage, which was less than what I planned to charge other tenants. He refused and has barely spoken to me since. I really struggled, but my family insisted that I give him a 30-day notice to vacate the property, which I had notarized. He ignored it. I then started to talk about eviction. We got into another argument when I got to repainting the house, with notice, because he had scuffed up the walls. He kicked over my paint cans, ruining the carpet. I had no choice but to file for eviction. It was all simply too straining. I had some valuables and furniture I had stored in the crawl space I'd been too afraid to move due to the tension. I found that he sold my retro games and consoles, 2 paintings, my dining set, and a few other things through a camera on my property. I called the police to file a report. He came home during this completely out of his mind. They found ketamine in his system and paraphernalia, and he is now facing jail time for the possession but also DUI. My family is now furious with me, blaming me for ruining his life. His parents won't talk to me, and they claim I knew he was high when I called the police when he hadn't even came home yet. They said I should have called them before the police to settle it. I feel like I did everything I could to help him until he crossed too many lines. I just am so stressed and guilt-ridden. I just need to hear some opinions. Comment 1, NTA. You went above and beyond to support your nephew, offering him a place to stay and money to get back on his feet. Despite your generosity, he took advantage of you, refused to pay rent, and even sold your things. Calling the police was 100% understandable. His future legal troubles are the result of his own actions, not yours. You did what you had to do in a very tough situation. Don't feel guilty for making the decision you did. You're well within your rights. He is a grown man and not your reasonability. Don't let your family make you think otherwise. Do the parents know the whole story? They're extremely entitled, and it makes sense where he gets this behavior from if so. Comment 2. NTA et al. You already went way farther than most people would to help. You are not responsible for controlling their life. You did so much to try and help them, but ultimately people have to be willing to help themselves first. Hopefully your nephew can get the help they need to recover from this situation. But you did what you could, and ultimately they were hurting you in this situation, and it's always okay to take care of yourself. I understand your family's frustration, but it's easy for them to say when they're not the ones being hurt. My 24F, fiancé, 25M, has ADHD and has a difficult keeping a schedule, which often results in him sleeping past his alarm. Today he was supposed to catch the bus at 7:30 a.m. but missed it. I work shift work and had just finished my third 12-hour night shift in a row. My commute home is about 45 minutes, so I got home just before 8 a.m. and woke up my fiancé upon entry. He was upset with himself right away, as he usually is when he sleeps in. We've had this issue in the past, and I've previously told him that if he really needed a ride to the train station, I would prefer to pick him up at the front door. We live in an apartment, because once I'm parked in the garage and make it upstairs, I'm tired and prefer not to leave again at this point, which I've still done in the past for him. I would say I probably drive him at least once every 2 weeks when he's late. He asked me if I'd drive him to the train station today, which would save him a 30-minute walk for his already long 1.5 hours commute, but I declined. I was hesitant at first, but decided that I deserved to put myself first. He seemed upset, and did make a comment saying I better see you in bed in 2 minutes then, but eventually went on his way. Approx 30 minutes later, he texted me saying that he knows it wasn't good timing, but that he really could have used the drive today. Later today he called and I expressed to him how I was upset by this. He said he was also upset because I wasn't there for him when he needed me, and that he would have done it for me if the roles were reversed, and that he was scared there was a limit to how much he could lean on me. Also that he hopes I'm happy that I got what I wanted and for me to enjoy my extra 30 minutes of sleep. To be fair, I'm not working today, so I'm able to sleep in later, and it would have only taken me about 30 minutes in total. I feel a bit guilty, as realistically it wouldn't have been that much of a burden to drive him, and it means it would help him out a lot. I know he's been having a rough time lately and worked 7 days this week, and is already angry with himself as is. Comment 1. NTA, you were exhausted and just wanted to sleep. Sure, driving him in would have helped him a lot, but this is a recurring pattern, and if you don't like being the one responsible to help every time, it would be a good idea to think of better situation to fix this. More alarms in the house? Ones that you have to physically get out of bed to snooze/turn off? Find a situation that works for your partner. It is okay to feel guilty about it, BTW. And it is okay to feel angry. Hope my advice helps. Comment 2. NTA. It's not your responsibility to get him to the bus on time. It's his responsibility, and it's his responsibility to figure out how to get there if he's late. You might every so often, very occasionally, maybe once a year, give him a lift as a very special favor. But he has started counting on you to do it every time. He has built "oh, she'll drive me if I'm late" into his plans. Refusing makes it much more likely that he won't sleep through his alarm next time. Comment 3. NTA. When he says you weren't there for him when he needed you, what he's really saying is, you weren't there for me when I needed you to save me from the preventable consequences of my own actions. My guess is that, more than once, he has intentionally slept in with the plan B of you driving him to the station. Good for you for clearly communicating that this is no longer an option. You deserve your sleep, too.